Is the Bible timeless? World rulers influenced by the Bible. Since it was first written out by hand, the influence of the Bible became worldwide and spanned the centuries. No other book has been able to claim that kind of effect on every area of life. In the next videos, we're going to take a whirlwind tour through the centuries to look at some of the people and events that changed the world. Some of these people became Christians, others didn't, but all were affected by the Bible in some way and went on to change the world because of it. In this first category, we'll look at world rulers. Roman Emperor Constantine. Constantine became the emperor of the entire Roman Empire in 324 AD. Historians have debated for centuries what motivated Constantine to profess Christianity. But what isn't debated is that he devoted himself to the reading of Scripture and was responsible for a turning point in world history. He extended freedom of worship to all within the Roman Empire, and this included Christians. Up until this time, there had been 3 long centuries of persecution for anyone who worshipped anyone other than the emperor, and this was mainly the Christians. When Constantine signed the Edict of Milan in AD 313, everything changed. Christianity became legal, and full religious freedom was granted to all Christians. The faith spread so fast that by the 4th century, Christianity was the dominant religion of the Roman Empire. Constantine was also instrumental in overseeing the early church's most important Council of Nicaea in 325 AD. This council settled controversies threatening to tear the church apart. What came out of it became the standard for orthodoxy, or the standard of what all Christians believe. It's called the Nicene Creed. Charlemagne, father of Europe. It was 1771 AD when Charlemagne was named ruler over an empire that extended from modern-day France in the west to modern Poland in the east. The moral and doctrinal teachings of Christianity were central to his purposes as a leader, and thus his empire was called Christendom. He had a great desire to teach Christians the Bible, and this spurred on a time of increasing literacy. Having been affected by Augustine's book called The City of God, Charlemagne believed that the church and state should work as one to unify the society. Charlemagne saw himself as the overlord of the church. Thus, the Bible, having affected Charlemagne, affected an entire kingdom. James I of England. James first ruled Scotland as James VI, and then he became the ruler of all of Great Britain in 1603. His enduring legacy is the Bible translation that bears his name, the King James Bible. King James assembled a unique team of 50 scholars to translate the Bishop's Bible into a version that would be without notes, just a single uniform translation. It was completed in 1611 and has had an enormous impact on the development of the English language. In fact, many of the words and phrases we use today were popularized by this widely read and beloved translation. By the skin of your teeth, you're quoting from Job 19 and 20. A broken heart, you're quoting from Psalm 34:18. Go the extra mile, you're quoting from Matthew 5:41. The Good Samaritan, you're quoting from Luke 10:35-37. And getting to the root of the matter, you're quoting from Job 19 and 28. Alistair McGrath, scientist, historian, and Christian apologist from Northern Ireland, writes this, quote, "Without the King James Bible, there would have been no Paradise Lost, no Pilgrim's Progress, no Handel's Messiah, no Negro spirituals, and no Gettysburg Address. Without this Bible, the culture of the English-speaking world would have been immeasurably impoverished." George Washington, first President of the United States. As the first President of the United States of America, Mr. Washington was the instigator of a lot of firsts as the leader of the new nation. One of those firsts was to place his hand on the pages of an open Bible when taking his oath. This has been followed by many other presidents. Although Washington was ambiguous about his spiritual life, he regularly appeared to an almighty providence to guide him and the nation. He was often enough seen kneeling in prayer with the Bible before him. Washington was a lay council member of the Episcopal Church, and he lived by these two mottos: deeds, not words, and for God and country. Abraham Lincoln. Abraham Lincoln, America's 16th president, grew up with the Bible as one of his textbooks. The King James Bible was one of the few books that he read and reread, giving him quite a command of its contents. As a young man, Lincoln was skeptical of religious orthodoxy, but as he grew older, he seemed to rely more and more on the Bible for moral truth. The fact that man was created in the image of God was the underlying principle in the Emancipation Proclamation, signed into law January 1st, 1863. By this piece of legislation, slavery came to an end and paved the way for the 13th Amendment, which prohibited slavery in the United States. When he signed the Emancipation Proclamation, Lincoln said this, "I never in my life felt more certain that I was doing right than I do by signing this paper." In 1864, a group of African Americans from Baltimore presented Mr. Lincoln with the Bible, and he said to them, quote, "In regard to this great book, I have but to say it is the best gift God has given to man." Mahatma Gandhi. Gandhi was an Indian immigrant living and working as a lawyer in South Africa, and it was here that he experienced racial discrimination starting at age 24. When he refused to give up his seat on a train to a European, he was beaten and kicked off the train by the white driver. The incident began a movement for passive resistance as he worked actively for social change. He moved back to India in 1915, where he led the Indian independence movement. By 1942, India saw the end of British rule. Gandhi also worked for women's rights and on trying to improve the lives of India's untouchables. His faith was that of a Hindu, but Gandhi also studied the Bible, and in a speech given in 1925, he said this, quote, "Although I am not myself a Christian, as a humble student of the Bible, who approaches it with faith and reverence, I wish respectfully to place before you the essence of the Sermon on the Mount." Today, October 2nd, is a holiday in India which celebrates Gandhi's birthday as well as the International Day of Nonviolence. Winston Churchill. Winston Churchill is one of the best known and best loved of England's statesmen. He was born in Blenheim Palace, England, into a life of wealth and privilege. But as a child, Winston had little parental affection and a poor academic record. Nevertheless, he became a military hero that rose to a place in politics in 1900, serving first in the House of Commons and then appointed the prime minister the same day that Hitler invaded France and Belgium. While Winston Churchill never declared himself a Christian, He had an admiration for the Judeo-Christian ethic, and he said this, quote, "The Judeo-Christian ethic is incomparably the most precious possession of mankind, worth in fact the fruits of all other wisdom and learning put together." Churchill used the main religion in England, Anglicanism, to bind the people to his cause in holding off the Nazis. He used biblical teaching to encourage and embolden citizens to stand firm against the evil of Hitler and to do what was right and good. His tactic proved successful as Britain joined with the Allies to defeat Hitler and the Nazi regime. Barack Obama. Barack Obama became America's first African American president in 2008, and he went on to serve 2 terms in office. He was not raised in a religious household, but as an adult he turned to the Bible for strength, encouragement, and wisdom. While he was president, Barack made Bible study and prayer part of his daily routine. Barack often invited pastors to pray with him for wisdom and strength because he keenly felt his need. In some of his most significant speeches, he quoted from the Bible to comfort the American people and to appeal to their sense of values. These are only a few of the world rulers affected by the Bible. In the next video, let's look at some of the scholars, translators, and authors that changed the world because they too were influenced by the Bible.